And welcome to coverage of Grand Prix San Antonio here from Texas. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Jacob Van Lunen, and we have in our feature match area Dominic Ortiz on the left-hand side. He's at 10-1 playing against Ben Rasmussen. He's also 10-1, and Ben, it looks like he's on the play here, and he leads off with an Avacyn's Pilgrim versus a Diagraph Ghoul. We were just talking about this matchup, Jake. It looks like it's going to be red-black versus green-white once again, and we see Precinct Captain hit the table on turn 2 for Ben Rasmussen. That's a really nice 2-drop here as it blocks the Diagraph Ghoul quite nicely. Now, it also eats a Searing Spear quite nicely.
It does.
It does that here, and it allows Dominic to attack in for 2. In our secondary feature match area, we have Jerry Thompson versus Reed Duke. We'll be popping in over there periodically as well. Okay, a second Precinct Captain hits the table for Ben, and he just passes a turn back. So Celestia Charm is what we would be thinking here normally.
Yeah, so the Celestia Charm really strong here. If Dominic tries to play a spot removal spell, Ben can just Celestia Charm, and then and there's a really good one. Knight of Infamy.
So Knight of Infamy is going to come down and do great blocking duty. It's also going to enable a much better attack here as it's a 3/3. Ben asks, how many cards do you have in your hand? And he's going to go for the block, and then Celestia Charm his first striking Precinct Captain to just get a 1-for-1. But it's also going to prevent 3 damage, which is pretty key here against Dominic's red-black deck. And it looks like it's just going to be a Temple Garden and a pass a turn here.
Dominic,
so why wouldn't you
be a favorite here?
Why wasn't there an attack?
What, with the Pilgrim?
No, with the
Knight of Infamy is protection from white.
Oh, and it was untapped still. Sorry, yeah, sorry. My bad. Yep, all right. So it looks like a Falcon Wrath Aristocrat for Dominic Ortiz, and he is going to attack with both. Ben Rasmussen is going to block the Knight of Infamy with the only card that he can.
That's really awkward.
And the Knight of Infamy gets sacrificed to the Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. It's going to give him a +1/+1 counter because Knight of Infamy is a human. And on end step, he is going to play a Celestia Charm to make a 2/2 Vigilance Knight.
Yeah, Ben could have used that Celestia Charm to exile Falcon Wrath Aristocrat.
Yeah.
Which definitely would have been a lot better.
That would have been a lot better. I mean, right now he's trying to take the offensive in this game.
Also, Dominic didn't need to attack with the Knight of Infamy. That Knight of Infamy had so much value. It was doing so much for him.
Yeah,
and especially attacking with it and then not even trading with the opponent's guy, just sacrificing it to make your Falcon Wrath Aristocrat into a
Celestia Charmable target. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's a Sublime Archangel down for Ben Rasmussen enabling an attack for 6.
9 now? 9.
And
okay.
It looks like
He will not be unleashed. No.
he asked him if the Rakdos Cackler resolves, even though his opponent's tapped out in his green-white. And it looks like he did not unleash it.
Looks like he did not.
Okay, so he played a Drolf's Messenger, which is going to take another 2 out of Ben Rasmussen, and then he also followed up with an attack for 5 in the air. It looks like that Cackler is going to be on chump block duty.
Yep. Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. Yep. The new meta. Falcon Wrath Aristocrat was one of the most anticipated cards when it was first released, but Lingering Souls was just too big of a problem, and everybody was playing Lingering Souls. Yeah. As a result, a lot of people forgot about Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. They didn't think it was, as good as it actually is. So card kind of fell to the wayside a little bit. People didn't talk about it much. Nowadays, Falcon Wrath Aristocrat has quickly become one of the best cards in Standard.
All right, so Ben Rasmussen sitting at a very precarious 4 life total.
Wait, so Dominic just sacrificed the Messenger to the Aristocrat just for 2 damage?
The messenger definitely has a counter on it, so yeah, it does look like it was at some point
Yeah,
sacrificed.
normally you would want to wait until your opponent's at 2 to do that.
Everyone with the angel.
I mean, you can do it at
more
instant
value.
speed anytime you want. So.
Yeah. If you really want it, you can.
You could do it on your
just a split
opponent's
second.
turn.
Yeah.
First strike.
All right, so it looks like a Rakdos Cackler is going to jump in front of something. I don't know
First
what.
strike. It's just going to remake another soldier.
Looks like they don't know what either.
You're taking 2, 4, 5. Yeah. I'm not.
There was a soldier token made, so that precinct captain did get in, and the Sublime Archangel is on blocking duty here. Although if Dominic has any form of burn spell here, or another Geralf's Messenger or anything, he can just kill Ben.
Yeah.
He does have a Geralf's Messenger. He's going to go to 2. He says, "I'll sacrifice my Geralf's Messenger," and that's the game. All right, so some interesting play there in the middle part of the game.
Yeah,
by
both
both
players making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Dominic had a few mistakes there. He started just chaining them together. I think just stumbling a bit. Hopefully, he really needs to recenter himself, get back into the game if he wants to do better in game 2. Ben Rasmussen, though, even though it was just one mistake, it was a huge mistake. It was that one mistake lost him the game outright. He played a Solicitor Charm on his opponent's end step to make it 2-2 when he could have used it to exile Falkenrath Aristocrat,
Which is a card that is extremely difficult to deal with for his deck.
Yeah, I mean it's the best card in the other deck against his deck, and he had an opportunity to just exile it for 2 mana, which is the dream scenario.
It would actually have been a 2-for-1 as well because he was sacking
the Knight of Infamy for no reason.
Right. All right. So let's take a look at the Jerry Thompson versus Reed Duke match here. It looks like a pretty well developed board as Reed Duke has a bunch of lands in play. It looks like he has about 10. And Jerry Thompson has 8 of his own. Jerry's on blue, white, red. And that is in amass the components for Reed Duke. We've seen him get pretty sweet value out of that card.
Amass the Components, a pretty powerful spell.
It is.
Last week, Reed played 2 Amass the Components. This week, he has 1 Amass the Components and 1 Jace Architect of Thought.
Yeah, Amass the Component says draw 3 cards, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. He's deciding which card to put on the bottom right now. The boards are completely clear for both players, however, although Reed Duke does have a full grip. It looks like Jerry's got a bunch of cards in hand, maybe even 7 of his own. So little control mirror here, not a whole lot happening. Nobody seems to be pressuring anybody. There is a Jace. Yep. There's a Jace and a Farseek. So Reed Duke using this opportunity to resolve some pretty nice stuff. Although I have to say the Jace, he's not like the old one. He doesn't put pressure on the board in the sense that he can just win you the game on his own. Like he'll get you the cards and the tools necessary to win, but he himself is rarely a win condition. Even if you ultimate him, it's not like you're getting something that just says you win. All right, Jerry Thompson has an Augur of Bolas now, which isn't going to do a whole lot versus the Jace that Reed has.
Yeah, Jerry's going to need to.
See a Sphinx's Revelation in Jerry's graveyard. There's also a Pillar of Flame. Looks a couple more Augurs. Saw a Supreme Verdict there too.
Thought Scour there for Jerry too.
All right, so Reed Duke gets to untap with tons of mana, a Jace Architect of Thought, and a bunch of other things. It looks like he's just going to plus Jace and ship the turn back.
Interesting. Reed here just looks like he's just going for a Jace ultimate.
Maybe he is. Jace ultimates at 8. You have to get to 8 and then -8, so still 3 turns away. And then you get to bribery them, and you also get to bribery yourself. His ultimate says for each player, search that player's library for a non-land card and exile it. Then that player shuffles his or her library. You may cast those cards without paying their mana costs. So just hits an exile, and you can play it for free. But the question becomes, well, what do you get? I mean, you're not going to get an Augur of Bolas. You want to get something much bigger than that. And like a deck like Jerry Thompson's just doesn't really play those big spells that you're really happy to get. I mean, you could get something like a Runechanter's Pike, Just nothing really that exciting, I don't think.
Yeah, sometimes they have an Angel of Serenity. something
Okay,
like that.
yeah, that's a nice one. All right, Pillar of Flame hits Jace.
Yep.
And a Snapcaster Mage, is that going to get the Pillar back?
All target pillar Jace.
It does indeed. And that's going to drop Jace down to 2. And then a Pillar, so he just basically uses almost like 2.5 cards to take out Jace. So it looks like Jerry was very concerned with Jace there.
Oh, he needed to be. I mean, it's a control mirror. There was a Jace getting out of hand. The next turn, Reed was going to start factor fictioning with it. You know,
and just bury him. I mean, Reed
and
already has
every 3 turns, he's going to draw 1 or 2 extra cards. It was just going to bury Jerry.
Okay. It looks
Jerry.
so we're back at the main match here, and it looks like Ben Rasmussen had a precinct captain. It got Pillar of Flamed. That was the second play for Dominic. It looks like he's got a Diregraph Ghoul as well, but Ben Rasmussen immediately recovered with a second precinct captain and an Avacyn's Pilgrim. But that second precinct captain now gets Searing Speared, and that enables an attack from Dominic Ortiz. He's able to get in for 2 damage. He's going to drop down Ben down to 16. And what does Ben have? He's got a Sublime Archangel, and he's going to attack for 3 here.
Yep.
Sublime Archangel really kind of having a bit of
Looks
a coming
like
out
Ben is,
party in the last
mulligan
couple of
here.
weeks. Ah, yes. And Brimstone Volley is going to kill the Angel. So as we've seen before in this matchup, the red-black deck can really go into control mode and just kill every single threat that Ben Rasmussen can even put on the table. We do see that Ben has a Gavany Township here. So if he ever gets to untap with something, he can start growing them and get in and out of range. But it looks like Dominic is very aware of that and isn't going to let him do that. Ben attacks for 1. And he just passes the turn back. So Dominic doesn't have much of a board presence, just a lowly 2/2. They can't even really attack here in case his opponent has a Restoration Angel, although from what we've seen so far, this deck doesn't seem to be playing it much. But it looks like he's going to commit some stuff to the board now. He's got a Knight of Infamy, and he follows it up with a Geralf's Messenger. He's going to drop Ben down to 2, and this attack could potentially drop, down to 12, could drop him down to 9. And it does indeed. Looks like a Mayor of Averbrook for Ben Rasmussen here.
And Ben, even with this little bit of flood he's having, it looks like he mulliganed quite a bit this game. And despite having 5 sources of mana in play, not even able to activate that Gavany Township.
I mean,
mana.
I think he decided to attack last turn instead of do that, right? Just get that 1 damage in. I don't know if that's worth it or not. Mayor of Averbrook for Ben Rasmussen now.
Well, he didn't have the green mana anyway.
Oh, he didn't have green available?
Because he only has the Cavern. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I understand. Yep.
We are still taking signups for the TCG players Silver.
All right, Dominic is just going to ship with his whole team, representing 7 damage here. Knight of Infamy can be traded off for either of the creatures, but the other 2 look like they're going to get in there. Which represents 5 damage. This is where Brimstone Volley could just finish off Ben Rasmussen. He's down a game here in round 12 from San Antonio, and things are not looking good if you're sitting in Ben Rasmussen's seat.
Not at all. I mean, Ben has to figure that Dominic would have used a removal spell pre-combat if he had it. It just seems to be how Dominic seems to be fast and loose. So I think that the Avacyn's Pilgrim should probably block Diregraph Ghoul Mayor on the Knight of Infamy. Take 3 from Geralf's Messenger.
I'll come back.
Oh, that's his only block. So he's just going to chump block.
And it doesn't even really chump because he still takes 2 from it.
Yeah, he still takes 2, and then he has a Brimstone Volley anyway just to finish him off. So he had just a few more lands in hand for Ben Rasmussen as he falls to red-black in the hands of Dominic Ortiz. And sportsman-like handshake there at the end. And we're going to head back over to the secondary feature match, which is Reed Duke. He's on the right-hand side of your screen, and he's playing against Jerry Thompson on the left. Jerry's on blue, white, red. It looks like a control deck. And Reed is on Bant control. You do see Overgrown Tomb there, but that's just to activate an Athalia Drown Yard and give him access to a card. I think he has Ultimate Price in his sideboard or something.
I'm assuming Reed won game 1. Reed is in the Athalia Drown Yard deck. Reed won game 1? Okay. Yeah, it's
he looked like he was in the driver's
seat. Yeah. I mean, they both had 7 cards in their hand, a lot of lands in play, but it's almost impossible for Jerry to win game 1. Because neither deck is aggressive enough to steal a game, so these games are going to go really long, and the Drown Yard will win the game for Reed.
Okay. Jerry's hand looks like Restoration Angel, Steam Vents, Detention Sphere, Clone.
And I also see a clone.
Yeah, actual clone. All right, so Restoration Angel is going to get in there for 3 damage. Jerry's going to play his Steam Vents, and does he have his follow-up play? No, but a Restoration Angel for Reed Duke. Yeah, Jerry has 2 lands, Clone, Detention Sphere.
And didn't have a second green source, an actual green source, so I can activate Gavin.
Jerry going to continue hitting these land drops, has a Sphinx Revelation now.
17, 20. Yeah. I think my only real outs once the game got going was drawing.
And Reed Duke just ships the turn back over. We get a look at the graphic there. Although looks like Jerry's already won according to prediction. It's getting updated. Yeah.
Yeah, that prediction is
it's
impossible.
A little off. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Like to win a wall. I can't complain too much considering I literally played 0 games standard prior to flying down.
This is nice by Jerry. Waiting
That's
a few
that's
turns
not actually correct though, right?
What?
It says 1-0 for Jerry. We think
Reed
it was
is
1-0
actually ahead of game.
Reed. There we go.
We're both playing band lists that seem to be fairly well situated to beat me.
Did Reed block here? Do we know?
2 and 6 or something like that.
Well, Reed's at 17, and we know he's taken 1 hit.
I kind of didn't bring any other cards.
Yeah, now Jerry attacked with this Angel.
So it looks like
Reed
he did
in
block.
fact block.
Yep.
But it's still a very nice attack from Jerry because by waiting a few turns and then just randomly attacking, it kind of says, I drew a Pillar of Flame.
Yeah.
And I highly, highly doubt that Jerry still has Pillar of Flame in his deck post-sideboard. And, Reed is a strong enough player that he's also able to correctly identify that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't complain at all where that goes.
All right. So Reed Duke is going to flash back his Think Twice.
Response 6.
And we're going to see Sphinx's Revelation in response. It's going to be for 6. But Reed does have the 2-mana negate. Jerry was able to play around Dissipate there.
Yeah. And post-board,
But
Reed's going
not
to have a
negate.
lot more dissipates than he will have negates. He might have 1 or 2 negates.
Yeah, but Dispel, Negate, and Syncopate all get him there. Think
Yeah, the
Twice
bad
again
deck
for
doesn't
Reed
play
Duke.
Syncopate anymore, I don't think. Usually not.
Okay.
But the Negate and Dispel are definite possibilities. I think last week Reed had I think 1 or 2 negates, and he had 4 dissipates in his post-sideboarded makeup against this type of deck.
We see a Alchemist Refuge there from Reed Duke. Interesting card that doesn't see a ton of play.
Yeah, Alchemist Refuge. Usually you see it alongside Door to Nothingness.
Yeah.
I recently lost the game of Magic Online where I tapped out and cast a huge Sphinx Revelation, and my opponent used Alchemist Refuge to drop a Door into play. Instantly lost.
Yeah, so Refuge, you can pay blue-green, tap it, and you can cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash. So when you have just infinite mana like these players seem to have here, then you can just give basically any spell you want flash.
Very good card.
Yep. Think Twice for Jerry Thompson. The board is currently stalled out. The important cards in the matchup tend to be Nephalia Drown Yard,
Activate Refuge.
Elixir of Immortality.
Sphinx's Revelation.
Yep, Sphinx's Revelation. Is
Curse
not
of
the first to do
Echoes.
thing.
That's something I'd like to see.
I'd like to see that too. All right, there's a Farseek for Reduke as he continues to just develop his mana.
He just sat down after. Luckily for you.
Jerry's got, I think, twice in the graveyard there.
I did not also play Order of Bullets. I would have liked to have drawn some back.
And an Augur of Bolas for Reduke.
Let's see.
He's looking at the 3 cards. We can't see them.
Yeah, so
Looks like
probably
he's got a decision. He takes a Dispel.
it's a pretty good one.
It's a good one to have. Even if Jerry knows it's there, it's still pretty good.
It's not too hard to leave him in 1 blue all the time.
All right, so he flashed in that Augur. Kind of sweet.
That is really sweet.
Flashback. Sure.
Think Twice is going to get flashed back by Jerry. And looks like he doesn't bother activate his Moorland Haunt.
Yeah, there's no point right now.
No, it doesn't really do anything. All right, it looks like we're going to go for a Snapcaster Mage. And is he just going to go for a Sphinx here? What is he looking at? Where is it? Oh,
just
it's a
Thought
Thought Scour, okay. I mean, he knows that his opponent has Dispel, so doesn't necessarily want to play into that, although he also knows that Dispel's not going anywhere. All right, think twice for Jerry Thompson. It also resolves. Hey! That was what I thought it was, isn't it?
I think that's what I thought it was.
Wasn't that a Curse of Echoes?
I think that was a Curse of Echoes.
Yeah. So
I'm
you
pretty
mentioned
happy.
this yesterday, and you said you were
Yeah.
hoping to see it today. And if he can get that thing onto the table, it's going to be really sweet. So Curse of Echoes, for those of you that didn't play a ton of Dark Ascension Limited, it's a curse. So it enchants a player. It costs 4 and a blue. Whenever enchanted player casts an instant or sorcery spell, each other player may copy that spell and may choose new targets for the copy he or she controls, which is just insane. Every single time they do something, you get to do it too, and it's a May ability as well. So you just get to basically have double the spell, especially in a mirror like
It's
this.
in response to the target.
All right, so it looks like Reed is going to Supreme Verdict, and Jerry is going to flash back his Think Twice to keep digging through his deck here. He needs to find a way to fight through a pretty reasonable amount of counter magic that Reed is very likely to be holding. We know he's got at least the Dispel. And he's going to go for a Thought Scour. Jerry is. Ooh, he gets a Sphinx's Revelation, I believe. Five mana. And he does play the Curse of Echoes, and Reed says, wait a minute, I got to read that one.
I got to read this one again. And, okay, if this card resolves, it wins the game right now.
The game's just over?
The game is just over. I
What
believe
about
it is
Detention
actually
Sphere?
impossible for Detention Sphere is, I guess Detention Sphere is the only. But, I mean, if Reed has the counterspell for the curse, then the curse is countered anyway. But if Reed doesn't have the counterspell for the curse, then... Yeah, so Jerry's going to have the negate here, but Reed has the Dispel.
We know that Reed has the Dispel, and it looks like it's going to open the door for Jerry to potentially resolve something. Oh, wow. So Reed actually has another negate in hand as well. Does that tap him out, though?
It does tap him out, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the curse is
Jerry could
game. So
Jerry could Sphinx for 1
yeah,
and
looking
try to
for
hit Dispel. Yeah, seems pretty foolish to do that. So sure enough, the Curse of Echoes gets exiled because it was dissipated.
Yeah, so
Looks like a lot of work on tapping that many lands.
Also, your opponent's counterspells don't work anymore for the Curse of Echoes.
Oh, they don't at all.
Because every time they play a counterspell, you can just copy it and counter their counterspell.
And your counter goes on the stack after there, so you can target their counterspell with it.
Yep.
Sick.
And all your stuff resolves first. So if they Sphinx's Revelation, you draw your cards first, and then you can counter the Sphinx's Revelation.
That's just silly.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so that's pretty good. All right, there it is. Big Sphinx's Revelation, and Reed Duke gets to restock his hand. This is going to put him in the driver's seat, really, to take down this match. Jerry's hand is fairly miserable here in the sense that now that Reed has just resolved this, he's got 3 mana up as well.
Yep. Still has Dispel and hypothetically also Negate.
Yep, that's right. Jerry Thompson's hand is Detention Sphere, Clone, and a Sphinx's Revelation that's going to be really hard to resolve. There's another land drop for Reed Duke as well this turn. I believe there's a Think Twice in Jerry's yard. No, he's just going to make a 1/1 Flying Spirit token, so at least he can start to do something here. I think they're going. There's the token.
We went through it yesterday. There was a lot of tokens, but no spirits.
Oh, Aggro of Bolas first main.
You have one?
And we see a rewind. There's 2 Azorius Charms going to the bottom of the yard. That seems fine.
13 tokens.
Yeah, he doesn't really want those right now anyway.
No. So is Jerry going to attack and see if there's an angel? Yeah. No problem. Reed Duke takes it. He's going to drop down to 22, so he's still at a very, very comfortable life total. Life totals are essentially irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at 20 to 22, this game isn't going to be decided by life total. This game is decided by cards.
Yeah, you know,
And
in the first game, Jerry scooped after Reed had tons of lands, a Nephalia Drown Yard, and the Alchemist Refuge. Jerry was like, all right, I've seen enough. All right, so Jerry's going big here. He knows, though, that there's a Dispel lurking. So he has to hope somehow that Reed only has a Dispel and that Jerry's Rewind actually does something here. It's a pretty thin hope, as Reed Duke had just drawn a bunch of cards. We know the Rewind is coming down, so what does Reed have as a follow-up play? Looks like it's going to be a Dissipate.
3rd Dissipate. So 2 Negates, a Dispel, and 3 Dissipates.
So what do you Dissipate here?
Rewind.
Okay, Dissipate, Rewind. That puts
Then he's tapped out.
Yeah, he's tapped out, but it also does put the Sphinx's Revelation in his graveyard, so, you know.
So he gets Snapcaster. That's true.
It's marginal, probably, but it's not irrelevant, I guess. All right, Reed Duke gets to untap with a completely tapped out Jerry Thompson saying, what do you got, buddy? Jerry's got 13 lands in play. So does Reed Duke. And Reed gets to resolve whatever the heck he wants here. So he's got to craft this turn to put himself in the best possible position moving forward in this game. He wants to use up a bunch of mana if he can. He's going to start with his Sphinx's Revelation to keep the momentum flowing in his direction. It looks like he's going to get 4 cards here, gain another 4 life.
Yeah, just getting himself completely out of range, not really in any danger. Jerry down to 1 card. Reed with all the cards in the world.
He's got 7 mana at his disposal, but he just decides to just discard a land here and pass the turn back. So Reed Duke under really no pressure. I mean, Jerry's only got 3 power total on the board. And things are looking pretty good for Reed. Now, this match is a lot different than the one that we had in the main feature match area, which was green-white aggro versus red-black aggro. This plays out in a significantly different manner when you have this control mirror.
Yeah, these guys are really trying to grind each other down. Reed just so far ahead now. Jerry's only hope really is that he can draw the other curse, play it, and then he has a Dispel in his hand. So probably be good enough.
Yep. So right now Jerry's going to continue to make 1/1 flying spirit tokens off of his Moorland Haunt, but he knows that this is not going to be a great win condition for him, as Reed is likely going to be able to deal with these creatures when he feels like it.
Yeah, and Jerry may only be playing one of that curse. It's a pretty offbeat card.
It is.
I'm not sure players have realized its full potential yet, but it actually is just a right-out game win against these man control decks.
It definitely can
5
be.
mana, and
Yep. Now
they have to beat you with like Thrag Tusks.
Right. Now, speaking of Thrag Tusk, Reed Duke just flashed one in off of his Alchemist Refuge, so this is still on Jerry's turn. It's funny, the turns can get pretty convoluted here when everybody's playing other things on everybody else's turn, and now Reed Duke is probably only going to be playing spells on Jerry's turn. And the Thrag Tusk does resolve, and it looks like Jerry decided that he was going to get a Thrag Tusk of his own. Is that clone on Thrag Tusk?
Clone is a Thrag Tusk.
Clone is the Thrag Tusk. Light total
Restoration
32,
Angel
25.
follow-up for Reed Duke is going to blink the Thrag Tusk, so the clone is also a Thrag Tusk for Jerry Thompson, so his life total should be 25. There it is. Shows it now. Reed's going to be at like 32.
Yeah.
Fun game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Reed is just grinding this one down at this point.
He's going to play Namasa components, draw 3. He's going to put 1 card from his hand on the bottom of his library. It's any card from his hand now, not just of the ones that he's drawn. So, really powerful spell in
And
this type
Reed's
of a
playing
matchup.
all the most fun cards. Like drawing cards is the most fun thing you can do in Magic.
Yeah.
I think
I agree,
pretty much,
100%.
And
there it
known
is.
Fact.
It is a known fact. It is a proven scientific fact. Now, the Nephalia Drownyard for Reed is a huge play here. That's the kind of card that is going to eventually win Reed this game. And if it doesn't, it can also be the card that can prompt a concession from Jerry Thompson.
Once again, if you're interested in playing Sealed, come see us at the side event stage now.
Your thoughts, Scours, Reed?
He's going to start thought scouring Reed if they're going to go for the mill fight here. He's going to have to do that. Reed's at 32. These attacks just seem completely futile. And Jerry is under a lot of pressure from Reed Duke here to make something happen. The Nephalia Drownyard, pretty impervious to all types of, it can't be detention sphered or O-ringed or anything like that. Jerry doesn't have access to acidic slime and the like. And it looks like he's going to mill him, and he hits negate, clone, and a drowned catacomb or something.
Yeah.
Maybe not a drowned catacomb. Yeah, it was a hallowed fountain. More lands for Jerry. He hits a steam vents. He's still got that dispel in hand, but dispel isn't going to do anything against the way that this game is going to play out. It looks like Reed Duke, I know the board state might not look like it, but it looks like he has this pretty close to locked up.
Yeah, just going to keep drown yarding.
He's going to try to get rid of the Restoration Angel with a detention sphere so that he can attack with his spirit tokens. He's going to attack for 4, drop Reed to a lowly 28 if Reed does nothing. This is a pretty good position. Remember, Reed does have the Alchemist Refuge. He can play anything he wants at instant speed here. It looks like he's getting some mana ready to do just that. And you see Jerry give a quick check of his library size, but I think we're going to see a concession from Jerry pretty shortly here. There's a Sigarda, Host of Herons for Reed Duke. It's going to block one of the tokens. But in reality, I think that this game is basically over. It's a funny thing to say when you look at a board state like that and see all these permanents and all these creatures and just basically none of them matter. Ooh.
Whoa, Drogskull Reaver.
That's
a nice one. Drogskull Reaver, really well positioned right now. It cannot be ultimate priced.
Yep.
Can't be Selesnya Charmed.
Right.
None of the burn spells kill it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Awesome card.
Recovers really nicely from getting beaten down early as gaining you life and drawing you cards. Yeah, sweet card. Does cost 7 mana. It's not the most efficient
Dodges
threat you could
Intrepid
make.
Hero?
But yeah, Dodges Intrepid Hero. That's a factor.
It is a factor.
Yeah. All right, another clone for Jerry Thompson. He could copy Sigarda if he wants and just legend rule them out.
That's fine.
I think that's got to be the play.
Yeah, make a beast, kill Cigar.
He does exactly that. And he does still have a nice amount of damage, but Reed Duke still has a full grip and an active Drownyard here. Okay, 4 damage coming in at Reed Duke. But we see Reed activate his Alchemist Refuge. And Jerry already knows what's happening.
Supreme
Verdict is going to leave the board table with just a beast token for Reed Duke as he mills Jerry.
This Drown Yard.
Reed Duke just
It
keeps
could just be
saying
the
go. He
inventory.
just doesn't have to do anything. All right, and it looks like there was yet another 1-1. He's going to count and he's just going to extend the hand. You can't blame him there. He was really far behind after that flurry of Sphinx's revelations from Reed Duke, and Jerry was in a position where it was going to be very difficult to recover.